seek recognition.
Strike the last word, sir.
Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, very much, the opportunity to address my colleagues. And I happen to share the same sentiments with Mr. Meeks, Mr. Green, and Mr. Cleaver and others on this committee. We have a responsibility, to the best of our ability, to make sure that all of us on this committee that deal with housing issues and other issues prevent opportunities for all of our families to have the same thing that we all want for our kids. We want our kids to be healthy. We want them to be safe. We want them to be happy. We want them to have a job, a good education, and a place to live. So we all understand that, and I agree with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who express those same views. However, I think when we as a country have spent $15 trillion on the war on poverty, and we still have roughly the same number of people in our country that are living in poverty, that we probably need a different path forward. We have spent an enormous amount of money on public housing. Some of it has worked, some of it hasn't. But I have an idea that I'd like to share with everybody. When I was state treasurer in Maine, I sat on a number of different boards, one of which was our Public Housing Authority Board. And I was told time and time again that we had to keep doing what we were doing because that's the way we had already done it. Now, the folks who dominated that board were mostly government bureaucrats, and I don't mean to offend anybody here in the audience by me saying that, but that's just a fact. I remember early on in the process when I would ask questions like, how many families do we have on waiting lists to come out of the cold to get into housing that will keep them warm and safe? I was told repeatedly that, well, this is a complicated question, and so the answer isn't rightly or readily available. Well, the bottom line is, in our state, which is a very small state, Mr. Meeks, the state of Maine is about 1/2 the size of Brooklyn, New York. We had about 6,400 families, roughly, on a waiting list to come out of the cold, one step away from homeless shelters. And then when I asked, well, what does it cost to build these one-bedroom apartments, 1,000-square-foot apartments? We're spending almost $300,000 for one-bedroom apartments, when in the state of Maine at that time, you could buy a 3-bedroom home with 2 baths on an acre of land with a garage for half that price. That is absolutely a shame. It is hurtful to our families. And instead of complaining about it, what we did was we changed the people making the decisions. We changed the rules so we no longer needed solar panels on a roof. There was a very cozy relationship between our Housing Authority staff and the board and the nonprofit developers. We changed that. We changed the rules. We gave developers incentives, private sector incentives, to drive down the price of these units. And by the time my term was over as state treasurer, I am very proud to say that we had dropped the price about 35% of these units. They were still going down when I left, and we helped hundreds of more families in our great state. Now, the people in the 2nd District of Maine, Western, Northern, Central, and down East Maine are very big-hearted individuals. They're thrifty. They work hard. They're frugal. And we want to take care of those who are less fortunate among us. But I think everybody needs to understand that this government in Washington is borrowing money to pay our current bills. And we are $18 trillion in debt. The interest payments on that debt is starting to chew up our budget. We have to understand we have a limited amount of money to help those who desperately need help. So I think we ought to do things very differently, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to housing to help our families. I'll tell you, one of the things I would love to see if we go down this path is some sort of ownership for the folks that are in affordable housing, so they own those units instead of having the government care for them, which is an assault to their dignity. I appreciate the opportunity, sir. I yield back my time.